Hey everybody! We are here for the fourth episode of Ask a Guide. I'm Tina. I've been guiding for 3 years with Western Spirit. Been kind of all over the place with the company. Did a lot of North Rims my first year, and then moved on to do some Colorado trips and some stuff up in North and South Dakota. In the winter months when I'm not here, I'm hanging out in Breckenridge, Colorado. I work in a ski shop and spend most of my time skiing.
Sweet. Hey guys, Wes here, Wes Shirey. I think this is year 11 for me. It's been a whirlwind, a full decade. But I live in Park City, Utah. I'm from Pennsylvania and spend most of my time guiding in Colorado, Utah a lot, North Rim, Grand Canyon. Do a lot of Colorado single tracks, Telluride Durangos, Sun Valley single tracks as well. What I do in my winter time, I am a guide, ski guide, backcountry ski guide, ski patrolman at Canyons Park City, and various other things. Work at a wine bar, yurt dinner, got to pull it all together, and photographer. So so this live feed, we're going to be talking about single track riding and how it differs from some of the other tours that we do.
Let's jump in.
Yeah, so we do have a few questions that came across our desk in the last week or so. So we'll just jump right in with those questions, and feel free to ask your own questions as we go along. But the first one here is from Joe from Idaho. How does single track tour differ from, say, the White Rim, Hot Springs, or other non-single track tours? That's a good question. Mostly there's not a sag wagon, so you kind of got to ride from point A to point B for the most part. Occasionally we'll have the vehicle to check in like halfway through, provide lunch. But for example, the Colorado single track, it is from point A to point B, high altitude riding. And then we do differentiate between very physically advanced or technically advanced. So next question.
All right, next question here is from Brenda in Chicago. Says, relatively new to mountain biking, but just rode the White Rim and did great. What's the next logical single track trip I should consider? Few options here if you're pretty new to single track riding. The best one that we would want to recommend is the North Rim. We have a really long season for that trip, and it is awesome, like intermediate single track with lots of options for bailing out like halfway through a ride if you're not feeling into it, or riding out the whole thing and just pushing yourself a little bit. So that one's super great. And another new trip that we're doing as a spring and a fall trip is the Prescott single track. And that trip is fully point to point, and it's this really nice, smooth single track that has some technical bits in between. So it's really good for people to progress if they're looking to work on those technical skills a little bit more. And again, that's a spring and a fall trip, so a little bit different season than the North Rim, depending on what time of year you're looking at.
Great. Got another one here from Kara from North Dakota. I've been riding nearly all my life and really want to challenge myself this summer. Which trips offer the most physically challenge versus technical challenge? So like my last question, they do differ both in altitude and amount of climbing, and then also technical ability. And you'll see those ratings on the website. We have them rated from green, blue, and black, I believe. And so diving into that, Sun Valley single track is an advanced physically trip because a lot of those trails are put in by motos. So they're steep, they're loose, a lot of climbing, but not super technical. They're kind of flowy and fun and really good views. Telluride Durango is kind of in between the two, Sun Valley single track and like Colorado single track, where you have high altitude, not as technical as a Colorado single track, or overall for the 5 days physically as demanding. Some of our more technically advanced trips are Gooseberry Mesa, very rocky, kind of chunky, not a whole lot of climbing, but overall your whole body is like kind of zapped, kind of like a CrossFit workout or something. And then also we have our Fruta, Sedona, and our Centennial Trail. Those are all very technical rides with a bit of mix in between. But I would say for most physically demanding, I would say probably the Sun Valley Single Track and Colorado Single Track.
Cool. So guys, if you're just tuning in, we are Tina and Wes. We're from Western Spirit, and today we're talking about our single track trips. Thanks for being with us. See some more people are jumping on here. We're going to keep moving through some questions that we're getting. So Mark from Denver is asking, he's saying that he has a group of friends who are fairly similar riding ability, and they want to set up a private trip. They're wondering if they should go to Colorado, Idaho, or the Pacific Northwest. So we'll talk a little bit about the differences between those trips and those areas. Something to keep in mind when you're talking about a private trip with a group is that you're only as strong as your slowest rider, so you might not want to pick the hardest trip that we have if you've got some riders who aren't quite on the same ability level as the rest of the group. So for example, Wes was talking about that Colorado single track that's super physically demanding. It's at altitude, which can be an issue for people sometimes. Sleeping up above 10,000 feet is super hard on the body. And if you're feeling like the group isn't quite ready for something like that, you could consider those Sun Valley trips, that Sun Valley single track that's still physically demanding, but a little bit lower altitude. That trip is a lot of climbing, so if you're thinking that that's not quite the right one either, then you might consider the Pacific Northwest. Still some great techie trails, some great flow trails, good mix, but at lower altitude, which is more accessible for some people. So think about those differences within your group in particular when you're trying to plan a private. Another thing to mention with that is that we do have that Prescott trip, depending on timing. That can be a super great one for some diverse skill levels, gives everyone some fun stuff to work on. I think the Moab Getaway too.
Any trail in Moab, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Good single track, but that trip's also pretty customizable for a private. So we could work some things out for our group with that one for sure.
And I might add, if you're jonesing for more on some of those trips, we can always find more riding for you, like more out and backs. But if you're doing a private group, I would say, yeah, like she was saying, cater to your weakest rider and just have fun with it. And then if you're really jonesing for more, go out and do more. And honestly, your riding is just a part of it, you know. Drinking beers at camp and eating good food at camp and the views, that's the biggest part of it, really, and just camaraderie, especially if you're a private group.
For sure, good time to hang out with friends.
Definitely.
Cool.
We have Sean from Utah here. Just how good of a rider do I need to be? Are there mandatory hucks? I'm not a racer, but I can ride pretty fast. So obviously, again, fast is not a big thing here. You know, we're doing long full day rides from point A to point B. So sometimes, like Colorado Single Track, we're walking a lot. Some of that climbing is very, very technical. So you just have to have like hours in the saddle and just being able to go all day. And I like to emphasize that it is a group tour. So you're not like doing intervals and then waiting for the group for an hour. That can get you really cold at high altitude. You can miss a turn. So kind of like just chill out a little bit with the racing part, with the intervals and all that. We're not racers out here. We're just having a good time and enjoying the views and mountain biking. So no hucks, no intervals. We're all just riding together and having a good time.
Cool, yeah. All right, another question that came in. Tyler from Boston wants to know what the best way to train for these harder trips is, and what gear in particular they should bring as compared to something like the White Rim. So again, when we talk about differences with our trips, something like the White Rim, we have that sag wagon that's following the whole time. You don't necessarily have to carry a ton of gear for that one. Your extra layers and things like that can be on the truck. And that's not really the case with our single track trips a lot of time. So something that we do ask is that people carry a bigger camelback or different ways to shuttle a lot more of their own gear around, whether that be frame bags or that bigger camelback or extra water bottles that you put on your frame. Everything like that makes a big difference in being able to carry your gear effectively, which is one of the biggest things. As far as training goes, Just being used to riding longer days, being in the saddle for a long time. Like we were saying with that last question, it's not all about those technical skills, no big hucks, no intervals necessary. But being comfortable being on your bike for a long time really helps in the long run. It keeps your body more comfortable over the tour and helps you have more fun in general. There's no need to, work on those big skills and feeling like you have to be racing to be on one of our trips for sure. Pace is definitely a little bit mellower and more about those views.
So something I would add to that is we carry really heavy packs. So that's one way you can train is put a lot of stuff in your pack. High altitude, we often get like some thunderstorms or rain or cold. So we carry really heavy packs with lots of food and water, and then also puffy layers, extra gloves, rain pants, rain gear, all that stuff. So carrying extra stuff. So I know a lot of people that do their like town laps, they'll just take a water bottle or a fanny pack or whatnot. But out here we're preparing for the worst, so we're carrying a lot of stuff with us.
For sure.
Cool. Any questions that we need to look at on here? Where do we go from here?
Wes, what's your favorite single track trip?
My favorite trip is definitely the Colorado single track. It's got it all. It's got really technical riding, hard climbs, hard descents, high altitude camps. Every camp is above 10,000 feet, so I love that alpine environment. And like I said, weather plays a role in that trip as well. So I think that's like kind of the spice of life. So keeps things interesting. And just the camps are just remote and beautiful. And I think there's a lot of added value in really being out there and pushing yourselves at high altitude and rocky terrain. And that's one of those trips that literally no one can ride the entire thing. So I think that's cool too. It's kind of a lost art to push your bike. A lot
Everyone
of these
pushes on that one for sure.
A lot of these trails these days are just manicured, so I think it kind of brings it back to like real backcountry experience.
Yeah, for sure.
What about yourself?
One of my favorites that we haven't hit on the rest of this is the Matahay up in North Dakota. It's just a totally different world up there with the Badlands and riding in that different environment. We do a lot of that like high alpine and we get the desert terrain, but the Badlands are completely different. It's like a different world, and the camping's great, and it's a trip that I would say is more physically challenging. So it's longer miles, but not as technical, and it really suits a wide variety of people.
Nice.
Had some pretty diverse groups up there for sure.
Yeah.
So, which is super fun.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of like the progression again. A lot of our guests start with a white rim and then progress up from there. So white rim goes on to like one of my favorite trips is the North Rim of Grand Canyon. So that's single track, but it's like intermediate, not too technical, not too physical. So that's a really fun trip. Only 2 camps, so that's a good thing for camping too, is that you don't have to move every day. And that's a good one that you can move on to other single track trips from there. Yeah, I think that's probably my second favorite is the North Rim of the Grand Canyon.
I love that one.
It's got the views and easy single track's fun for everybody. Those kind of hammerhead single track guys that ride a lot and those people that are kind of just getting into single track. So
yeah, that's a great one for extra mileage too. There's plenty of other options for out and backs beyond what we would normally ride if someone needs a little bit more.
It's got a touch of altitude. It's about 9,000 feet, so it's not sea level, but it's not 13,000 feet either.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good one. What other questions do we have?
Well, for you, I guess like some of those like all day point-to-point rides, like what do you carry in your pack for like emergency stuff? And
yeah, so like Wes said, our packs are pretty heavy. We always have the first aid and the bike repair stuff. And then on top of that, I'm always carrying my rain gear. I'm always carrying 2 sandwiches, probably one with bacon in it for sure.
Of course.
Just a lot of snacks and always a down jacket and probably some warm gloves as well, particularly at high altitude.
Yeah.
if we're a little bit lower, or like if we're doing some hikes or something, I might have, you know, a sun layer or something like that.
Summit beer. Something like
Summit
that.
beer, you need a Summit beer for sure. But yeah, it kind of depends on the trip, but in general, just a lot of clothing layers and lots of food for sure. 3 liters of water.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's, again, at altitude. That's pre-hydration. Hydrate before the trip, and you're constantly trying to keep hydrated the whole way through the trip. Beer, water, beer, water. It's kind of how it rolls in camp.
The hard seltzer with electrolytes in it. Yeah.
Let's see what else. Another favorite trip, I guess, is the Gooseberry Mesa.
Yeah.
That's definitely a favorite trip of mine. It's technical. It's one camp, which is super awesome. And then it's really technical, like for any rider. So that one's really fun. You can like kind of clinic some things, like steep, really steep, like sandstone stuff, like up or down.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you don't have to move camp. So I think that's a really luxurious thing as well.
Yeah, and that one's great too for people who might have some different vacation times because it runs really early and late in our season as well. Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, really appreciate you guys tuning in. You can continue to ask questions on here if you'd like, and we can get back to you. But
we're signing off for now.
All right.
Tune in 2 weeks for the next episode of Ask a Guide.
See you on the trails.
See ya.
Short.